1946. That's kind of been handed over to the Flynn family in tandem with John Singlaub. It ties back to literal Nazis, fascists, the origination of the CIA, Knights of Malta, and much, much more. And it all fast forwards to a lot of the problems in regards to the disinformation network I talk about all the time today. So without further ado, let's dig in. So I've been digging on the Flynn family for about 2 years. On my Telegram, I made a post one time that said, "Where do America's future tentacles reach?" And Joe Flynn basically lived in there at the time. His response: "America's future tentacles reach up and put your mouth, you little piece of shit." These are the words of board member Joseph Flynn from America's Project. But don't worry, it gets so much worse. America's Future says they promote free market capitalism. Joseph Flynn agrees, calling himself a capitalist pig. America's Future says they want to revitalize the role of faith. Joseph Flynn, board member, says that some say Jesus was a communist. What say you freaks? America's Future says that they want to protect American values. Joseph Flynn calls us all effing trailer trash clowns. America's Project says they want to promote family and community. Joseph Flynn says it's fun mocking people who follow an FBI informant. Now, these are his responses just to us digging around. Definitely seems innocent, right? Well, let's see how bad it really is. Okay, so we'll jump around a little bit, but here's some of the leadership and staff. We have Mary Flynn, Michael Flynn's sister. We have Ed Martin, Laura Logan, Paul Hofecker, John Fly, Tracy Diaz or Tracy Beans, Joseph Flynn, Mike Flynn. But first, let's hone in on John Singlaub, the chairman of the board. All right, let's dig in a little deeper. We just went over some of the leaders of America's Future. If you look below that on the left, you'll see the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, or Knights of Malta, list Ed Martin and John and Jack Singlaub, as well as a lot of the Schley family. And if you don't know, the Knights of Malta, or Knights Templar, is a sect of Freemasonry. They say that they're basically like the Christian sect of Freemasonry, but in reality, they actually have allegiance to the Vatican. Rothschild means red shield. They're high-ranking members of the Knights of Malta. The Rothschilds have been part of the Jesuit order since way before 1776. The Maltese cross indicates membership and allegiance to the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, a Masonic order created in 1099 AD by direct descendants of Roman emperors, of which the Jesuit order is a branch. General John, or Jack, Singlaub also had ties to Nazis and fascists through various organizations. Jack Singlaub was a member of the Council for National Policy, which is basically the domestic right-wing version of the Council of Foreign Relations. He was the founder of the World Anti-Communist League, the U.S. Council for World Freedom, and the founder of Western Goals Foundation, which is a private intelligence network. Their allegiance to the Knights of Malta is illustrated here as we look into the Western Goals Foundation, which was founded by Major General John Singlaub, and its German affiliate acknowledges working with Reinhard Gehlen, who's a former Nazi and was honored by the Knights of Malta. Even though he was not a Catholic, he was awarded the honor because of his, quote, efforts in the crusade against godless communism. He headed Hitler's spy operations during World War II, and his spy apparatus, staffed mostly by former Nazis, were recruited by the CIA. Many researchers in this sect know about Operation Paperclip, which was a secret United States intelligence program in which more than 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians were taken from the former Nazi Germany. So this shouldn't really come as any surprise. So I hope you're understanding that it wasn't just NASA that these former Nazis were being injected into. Here we see a direct correlation with a company called America's Project working hand in hand with Nazis that became the CIA. Furthermore, the Knights of Malta controlled the OSS, or Office of Strategic Services. The OSS was the United States Intelligence Service during World War II. The OSS was a precursor to the CIA, which would later be established after the conclusion of World War II. And who was the chairman of the OSS? John St. Paul. And as most of us know, these secret societies have a very close relationship with these intelligence agencies, the line being extremely blurred on where one ends and where the other begins. Now let's look at his association with Otto Skorzeny, who founded the Paladin Group, a fascist organization of security contractors, Fascist International. He was a Waffen SS commander, dubbed as Hitler's favorite commando, and he became a Mossad agent in 1962. Otto was listed as one of the controversial participants of the World Anti-Communist League. The US chapter of the World Anti-Communist League was founded by Major General Singlaub. Just to give you an idea of how interconnected everything is, the World Anti-Communist League was established by Nazi and Japanese war criminals, but also someone named Reverend Moon, who claimed to be the Messiah, and Tim LaHaye actually supported this and believed this. Tim LaHaye uses the Masonic Knight Templar's cross and a crown here for the cover of his book. He also co-authored the Left Behind series with Jerry Jenkins, which this is absolutely blasphemous. It's not biblical, and it really, what it does is it instills fear about the second coming of Christ and adds confusion to what scripture really says. So it makes sense when you figure out he's a Freemason. Jerry Jenkins is also the father of Dallas Jenkins, who you know from the blasphemous series, The Chosen. I've been talking about this notion of the big red devil and how they're using that to kind of usher in an angel of light, false light, within the Christian community. I wrote this a few months back. I said something weird is happening with these networks lifting up Sorbo and more broadly Christian entertainment in recent times. The dark satanic culture that so many are becoming aware of has created the perfect atmosphere for them to walk in with a false light, and unsuspecting Christians will welcome it with open arms into the spotlight. And if you look and start to notice that they're using these same actors, the Kevin Sorbo, Kirk Cameron, Jim Caviezel, Mel Gibson, Stephen Baldwin. So they've been raising up these type of Christian archetypes, and then at the same time, they're using their disinformation network to push whatever it is that they're trying to steer, whether it be a podcast, a film, a person. The same networks are constantly in tandem lifting these people up. You see here, there's Kevin Sorbo, Michael Flynn, Dinesh D'Souza, all being featured at an event. These are the kinds of things that you should take notice of as you're trying to map out these networks. But anyways, back to the World Anti-Communist League. It was first used under Nixon to spread counter-insurrectionary measures. What needs to take place in order for counter-insurrectionary measures to be instituted? An insurrection. I need you to let that sink in as I go through the next part, because I'm going to move kind of fast. Remember, Michael Flynn received the inaugural Singlaub Award at the Schweiz Knights of Malta Ingle Council and considered Singlaub his mentor. Remember, John Singlaub was also a member of the CNP. So are the Koch brothers, who also hate Trump and have connections to Nazis. Jenny Beth Martin, the co-founder of the Koch brothers Tea Party Patriots, orchestrated the promotion of America's Frontline Doctors bit of Dr. Simone Gold on the steps of the Capitol. On December 10th, the CNP leadership released a letter calling on legislators to throw out the votes. However, upon looking deeper into the leadership behind who wrote that letter, Kenneth Blackwell, who also sits on the chair of the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, who receives funding from the Open Society Foundation, aka George Soros, was involved in this letter. And finally, as a last gasp effort, a number of members helped to organize the J6 Stop the Steal protest on Capitol Hill. The entire Flynn network was there. Ali Alexander, a former CNP member, was a lead organizer, and Michael Flynn, who appeared on the CNP staff roster, gave an address as we know. But it's so much deeper than that. I have an in-depth video on each one of those three things that I just mentioned. But the idea of everything leading up to this day was all about creating instability as they're trying to carry out a color revolution. Some of the things on this list that completely define who the Flynn Network is: a united and organized opposition, an ability quickly to drive home the point that voting results were falsified, compliant, independent media to inform citizens about the falsified vote, and capable of mobilizing tens of thousands or more demonstrators to protest the electoral fraud. Does this sound familiar? Now, do you have eyes to see? The America Project, another group associated with Flynn. We've got Patrick Byrne, who did Deep Rig with Michael Flynn and Roger Richards, who literally has a tattoo that represents Lucifer on his neck and has created propaganda space films with Jordan Sather to take you away from Christ. We've got Emily Newman, who also had ties to the US Agency for Global Media, where Hillary Clinton and John Kerry were board members and directors. That reads as an independent agency of the United States government that broadcasts news and information vital to US national interest. Basically sounds like propaganda. And then we have Brian Gamble, the CIO of America Project, who boasts about being trained in information warfare and psychological operations, who is very close with Flynn. And you'll see him here on J6 next to QCom's guy, Jim Watkins, dressed like Antifa. Yep, that's him, ready to shoot all the propaganda that they used against you for the last 3 years.
Hey, it's Happy. Oh, now the SWAT's coming in. Look at all these fat cops. You know who paid for all of this, right? We did. And Q's right behind them. Oh, someone's late to the show. Get a good look at these cops. Barbie's in the background taking a break. There's a brand new fire extinguisher. And Q's just gonna walk right up the steps while Nick Quested gets all of it. They just file right in, hoping their tactical gear stays intact, while John Farina double penetrates them with 2 cameras. Jesus, it's like inbred city. Listen to how quiet it is. What do you think they're all waiting for? So, if you were an actor, one of your main jobs is to do this. Pour water into people's eyes. Get used to it. Never had a country, because it isn't a country. It's a corporation, and still under Crown law. Look at these guys just chatting it up with the cops. The summoning is part of the show.
Brian Gamble now sits on the Child Exploitation Board alongside Laura Logan and Liz Crooked. There's honestly so much more when it comes to him. Maybe I'll dedicate a whole video to him later. But Brian Gamble was also behind what we know as the Red Pill Roadshow. The Red Pill Roadshow was basically the precursor to what we know as the Reawakening Tour, and Natalie was a part of it. So was Joe Flynn, Jordan Sather, Gene Ho, The Matrix, Q Mail Drops, Kate the Awakening, Obi-Wan, and many, many more. So no, I don't think it's outlandish for me to think that these people are part of some organized disinformation network, especially when she gets the Jerusalem cross branded on her body in Israel, which is very symbolic to the Knights of Malta. And she's had Alan West on her show.
He said he's great, he's a good guy, I like him. And I want him to succeed, I would love to see him. Because I actually think that Alan would get in there and he doesn't take any bullshit. I mean, excuse my error.
And here he is showing the world that he's a Freemason and standing here with General Michael Flynn. And she's also appeared on InfoWars and Stu Peters and Clay Clark. And really, you could just take the whole Clay Clark poster and do this to each one of them and see how they all are interconnected with each other, how they each appear on each other's podcasts, how they each push the same narrative and counter narrative. Because you can see at the top, the Great Awakening versus the Great Reset. This is the two wings of the same bird. This is the two sides of the same coin. And to be honest with you, Natalie is not special in this way. And I don't have anything against this girl. I wish some of these influencers would come forward and say, I'm sorry, I've been deceived, and this is the truth about the propaganda I've been spreading and how it works from the inside. I pray for that to happen one day. But God reveals things in His time. And I believe that over time, there will be many more who see what I see. There's so many layers to the truth. And I believe that people witnessing how deep this evil goes, it will just draw them closer to the ultimate truth, which is Jesus Christ. I hope this helps you realize the network's patterns and tactics and how to look out for the narratives that they push. But most of all, I pray that you find the Holy Spirit and true peace. God bless y'all.